Welcome to Let's Get Creative with Sam, the podcast. I'm Sam Rawlins and I'm a children's creative counsellor. That means I help kids unlock their imaginations and explore the amazing world of creativity. But being creative can also be a great way to take care of our minds and feelings, which is super important. In this podcast, we'll be doing all sorts of fun things. We'll be sharing creative tips and tricks that can help us feel good, interviewing other awesome creative folks in the industry who use creativity for mental well-being, and maybe even doing some creative challenges together that can help us express ourselves. So buckle up, get ready to unleash your creativity and explore how it can help us feel our best, and let's have some fun.
Good morning, everyone. Oh, it's a new week. It is Monday and I am so excited. I'm doing something a little bit new and a bit different today, but also that means there might be some little teething troubles as well. But do I bother? Do I care? Absolutely not, because I'm here to share my creativity, my fun and enjoyment with my amazing guests. And my next guest today, well, how do I introduce her? She is so wonderful. She has created so many amazing things and given so much support. So let's get on with the show and introduce her. I would like to say, hi, Yasmin.
Hey there. Hi, Sam. How are you doing? Thank you so much for inviting me onto your wonderful, wonderful show, your first podcast. I'm so excited for you.
Me too. Thank you so much. And thank you. I've been knowing that I wanted you to be a guest for quite a while now, but you've been so busy trying to catch up with you. So today is the day. And yes, as you said, my first podcast. So all a little bit different for me. So yeah, we'll just see how it goes. So would you like to introduce yourself to everybody who's watching today?
Yeah, sure. So my name's Yasmin Shaheen-Zaffar. I am a BACP accredited trauma and relational therapist, counsellor. So I'm neurodivergent, autistic, ADHD, dyslexic, and have dyspraxia also. I'm late diagnosed. So mostly I work with the neurodivergent community. It's sort of come about that way. So if I tell you a bit about myself, I went through university at 18, failed my first year twice, and then just dropped out. So I'm a uni dropout, and spent many decades thinking I was useless, I was thick, I was stupid. And then when I started my counselling training in my early 40s, I was like, I kept failing my counselling essays. And I was like, but I get the therapy. I know I'm a good therapist. And the professional and the PPD, what's it called? Professional and personal development.
Yes.
I got like 100% in my presentation.
Amazing.
So, and that's when I discovered, first of all, it started to unravel. I'm actually dyslexic and I just didn't know. And then the ADHD, I was diagnosed with dyslexia and dyspraxia. And then a few years later, the ADHD and more recently, the autism emerged. So that's about me. What that has enabled me to do, though, because I don't really read books, I started creating visual resources for my clients to begin with, to support them in the therapy sessions. And it was only around that time, a bit after I was then diagnosed. And I was like, oh, this makes sense, because I'm creating resources for different types of learners, for neurodivergent community. And so that's been actually a separate part of my business that's really developed, and it's kind of exploded, to where I am kind of now.
That is incredible. Thank you so much for your introduction. So I realised that I didn't even introduce myself.
Okay, Sam, go on.
So for everybody who's watching, my name is Sam and I am a children's creative counsellor, and this is my show, my podcast, Let's Get Creative. And I'm here to speak to amazing guests about their inspiring, their journeys, their stories, and connected around creativity and mental health. So yeah, that is me. So we've known each other quite a while, haven't we, Yasmin? And do you remember how we first kind of met?
Yes, I do. How many years has it been now, Sam?
Oh goodness, it must have been about, I think about 5 years.
About 5 years.
Yeah.
And because you're quite local to me, aren't you?
Yeah.
So we went up that walk up Ilkley, and we were trying, what were we trying to find that we never really...
Oh, the 12 stones.
Yeah, so if anyone knows what the 12 stones look like
and where they
please drop Sam and me a message, because we're still kind of clueless about that.
Oh my goodness, yeah. But prior to that, we met online. I was a nails yard consultant at the time, and you contacted me wanting some essential oils and some products for you and your daughter.
Yeah, that's right. And we actually had a one-on-one. It was during lockdown, wasn't it? And
Yeah.
that was lovely. That really helped me connect with my daughter. Yeah, that was a really lovely time, and she really enjoyed it.
That's so good. And it was lovely. That was when I found out as well that you was also a therapist. So there was kind of that instant connection from there.
Yeah.
And then we've kind of... Go on.
A creative therapist.
Yeah, definitely. And I was still at that stage where I didn't feel I was creative either. I didn't see myself as being a creative counsellor at that time. So I was kind of seeing myself as a counsellor, a person-centered counsellor, which when I think about now, that creativity has been in me since, for absolute years, because of like the career that I chose.
Yeah, and I think, this is a really, really important point, Sam, because so many people, I mean, I never thought I was creative. And so many people go, oh, I'm not creative. I'm not creative. And I think so many have been traumatized by like GCSE art, perhaps, of drawing an apple or shading. I really believe creativity is finding solutions. And, that is what creativity is. It's not about drawing the perfect apple or shading. It is, finding solutions to problems, really, in perhaps maybe some unorthodox ways, even.
Yeah, I like that. I like how you put that. I kind of see it in similar ways, and there's a really lovely quote, and part of it is about them endless opportunities, and it makes so much sense, doesn't it? Because it's actually innate of us, isn't it? We're born with this creativity, but then so many things happen to us, whether it's a child, a young person, an adult, where it's almost like you're not allowed. You have to be serious. You're not allowed to have fun and play, because creativity and play are kind of connected, aren't they, in some ways?
Oh, very much so. And if we really go into it and take a polyvagal lens, like play is the flow state. And that brings me back to my latest project that I'm so eager to talk to you about.
I would love to hear about it, Yasmin.
Okay, so my latest brand is called Scribbledeedo. So
I love that.
you might be wondering, what the hell is a Scribbledeedo, right?
Yes.
So I have workbooks under the Scribbledeedo brand. I have workshops and events, corporate days, wellbeing days, PTA fundraisers under the Scribbledeedo brand. And the whole idea of Scribbledeedo, firstly by the name, just by the name, that it's going to be a kind of fun name.
Yes.
So I really appreciate, being a therapist, that therapy isn't accessible to everyone for a number of reasons, whether it's time constraints or finance. But what I also know is that there's so many like techniques and psychoeducation that can be shared, especially with parents, because I'm a parent myself, that once they learn these techniques, they're invaluable. So I created Scribbledeedo, and our core messages, we incorporate five core elements: scribbles, doodles, colours, shimmies and shimmers into all our events. So you might be wondering what a shimmy is. So I really wanted to move away from, people have probably heard the word somatic experiencing or somatic movement.
Can you explain that a little bit, please?
Yeah, so basically the mind and body are connected, right? Very much connected. And as a trauma therapist, that trauma isn't so much the event. If you follow Dr. Bessel van der Kolk's The Body Keeps a Score, he's the author of Way of Teaching, that trauma isn't so much the event, but it's the impact left in the body.
Okay.
So I really wanted to find a way to normalize connecting with the body. What I have found, but in a fun way, so parents can explain this to their young children. So I just wanted to create a more friendly, more fun word than somatic, which means like being in touch with our body, movement of bodily movement as a way of healing. So I really wanted to normalize it, that parents can use this with their young kids to make it a more fun way. So a shimmy is just getting in touch where's that tension? What sensation am I feeling in my body? And it helps like increase a person's emotional landscape and vocabulary as well. So I talk very much about sensations. Does it feel hot? Is it throbbing? Is my hand shaking? So these are all tangible things, more so that people can see or they feel in their body. And then the fifth is a shimmer. So what on earth is a shimmer? So you may have heard of Deb Dana. She's a polyvagal expert, American. She coined the term glimmer, which is when we really absorb these moments of joy. So these glimmers. So what I coined is a shimmer is a glimmer combined with a shimmy. So when we absorb this joyous moment, we can do a little happy dance and really embrace our body. It can feel a bit weird, feel a bit silly and silly, but I can guarantee you it is fun once you get over the initial like, oh my God, what am I doing?
I love that. And I'm very much kind of like, I'm not afraid to be silly. You know, that's part of me, the creativity, the fun, getting down, allowing my inner child to come out and have that fun. I mean, last week I was jumping in muddy puddles and jumping in mud, and I loved it. I also went on a swing as well, and it was just amazing. So I totally understand what you're saying about the connection to movement. And when I'm working with clients, you know, sometimes if they're really kind of either really tense or fidgety, the opposite way, like, right, come on then, and we'll get up and we'll dance, or we'll move, or we'll sing, or, you know, especially if that's the kind of thing that they enjoy as well. And it distracts them, but it also brings in that joy as well, and the laughs and the giggles. You know, sometimes you would think it's not like a room for a counsellor and a client, you know, because of the different way that I work, using that creativity to support that child.
And you
yeah.
see, this is interesting because being neurodivergent, I've got my fidget, I sit on a swingy chair, and you know, it's quite difficult for me to sit still, right?
Me too.
So having this movement as a way of release as well can really help bring like levels of anxiety down, but also normalize the fact that movement is kind of normal. You know, I personally think we weren't created to sit on chairs still for a like 6, 7, 8 hour school day or in offices. We're meant to move.
Yeah, definitely. It takes me back to when I worked in the nurseries, and I learned about developmental movement play, and that was a huge part of kind of how I worked with the children. But knowing about, obviously, while the baby's in the womb, you know, while it's an embryo in the womb, the movement starts, you know, so it's prior to being born. And just the way that, like you said, we're not able to sit still. And some of the key things from there was about if the children were not able to like crawl and have tummy time and things like that, then when they got to about 3 or 4, they were crawling around like animals. They were calling themselves cats or dogs or lions or whatever, because that need, that developmental need was there. So I love that you're bringing it now into a therapeutic space, particular for parents, because it'll help them understand that actually children find it hard to sit still. Like you said, we find it hard to sit still. You know, you find children swinging their feet, swinging their legs, because they're just kind of struggling. So I can really connect with what you're saying, and it just sounds so exciting and so amazing. So what I want to ask you, Yasmin,
can I just talk about?
Absolutely, go for it.
Yeah, so my first journal workbook, the Scribbledeedo journal workbook, is out and it's available on Amazon. It's called Build Better Bonds with Emotional Regulation. So it's 55 days of self-development for nurture, growth and well-being, and it's a neurodivergent friendly workbook journal, especially for the modern family. And a lot of people say, oh, so what age range is it for this book? And I'm always like, it's for the parents. So my aim is to share the knowledge with the parents to empower them. So once they've gone through this, they can share what they've learned. They can do some of these exercises with their kids, with their family, with their partner, or even on their own. But then more importantly, I want to this is the first workbook journal of a series of 10 out at the moment. What I really want to do is empower the parents so they can share this knowledge with their kids and empower families. So it's suitable for if parents are neurodivergent, or if parents are neurotypical and the kids are neurodivergent, or if there's a whole mix. It's neuroaffirming, it's split out. It was really important to me to really break down concepts. It's through a polyvagal informed lens at this. So it's really about reframing behaviors, more to be about a clue to what our autonomic nervous system is doing, opposed to behaviors being selfish or bad. Or so, yeah, and that's all in here. And it's got a 28-day tracker. We don't, because, you know, Sam, how do we make change, right? I used to be a really shouty mom, right? And I was like, oh my God, my child's going to hate me if I carry on like this, basically. So I really worked hard on changing. And my knowledge, what I gained and through my training, is in this workbook, because I've got a wonderful relationship with my dean now. And I am definitely not, I mean, sometimes I can be shouty because I've got a loud voice, but I'm definitely I have done better. I am a better parent, I would say. So how do we make change? The first step is through increasing self-awareness. So how can we increase self-awareness? You know, that is, so we can do that by reading, by reflecting, by journaling, by going to therapy, by just psychoeducation, watching reels, YouTube even. So the first part of this workbook has got like really short bite-sized learning about different subjects, from our autonomic nervous system, being neurodivergent, through to shame, you know, letting go of shame. And then we've got a 28-day tracker, because to increase self-awareness through tracking, self-tracking. So what we're doing is collecting information, gathering. We're like detectives, really, because, you know, when we lose our temper or when we lose our shit, you know, quite often we can't remember what happened, or, you know, it happened so quickly. So by, you know, spending some time and tracking different things, which are all listed in this workbook journal. And I don't talk about feelings at all, because I know for a lot of neurodivergent people who have people who have alexithymia, feelings are like, what? I don't know what I feel. So we collect, my journal workbooks collect tangible things that can be seen, or sensations that are felt, to help us build that emotional landscape. And then the third section of this workbook is we create a really personalized toolkit from this evidence that we've collected, because not everything works for everybody, right?
No.
Yes, you know, it's really important people choose like strategies and interventions that work for them personally.
Totally agree with that.
I get so excited about my journal workbook.
That is okay, that you know, and it's lovely to kind of hear it, and it sounds really exciting for you, and I can hear that excitement in your voice, and that's what it's about, because it's your passion as well. So going back to, you talked about you had all these diagnoses when you later on in life. So how would you say life was before that happened?
Chaotic, full of shame, because I'm a uni dropout. So, and what I realized is, like, I've always been creative, but I didn't trust my creativity, because if I can't pass uni, then I must be crap, right? So I held on to that shame for so many years. I mean, I remember I wrote and wrote and wrote, like fiction, non-fiction, but I was so scared to show anyone. I would just rip it up. Yeah, so I think the biggest thing is letting go of shame. And always feeling as if I didn't fit in. And I'm like, you know, being just accepting my neurodivergence. And I'm still, you know, every day I'm still learning. You know, if I can't do something, like, you know, I only realized a few weeks ago how much reading emails and trying to follow threads like actually blows my brain. And then the thing is, it's really difficult, you know, people often can not understand about a spiky profile, because if I can sit and create 10 of these books and come up with names, you know, I've got about 6 different brands, all to do with neurodivergence, you know, well, you know, what's she on about? Why can't she read emails?
And it's a different way, isn't it? It's
and in
it's how
this
you process
workbook,
it as well.
journal workbook, we talk about, you know, creating a spicy profile. Let me just find, I
like
love
that.
this bit, and my neurospice rack, like really understanding we're all got different either, you know, conditions or ways of thinking. I really don't like to use the word disorder because it's the majority. And we've got, you know, let's have a look. We've got exercises, we've got understanding, you know, turn the volume down. There's lots of exercises in here about helping you understand your spiky profile, but also how different senses and sensations impact you. So really getting to know yourself about lighting, about taste. So yeah, so I think it's given me a license to be creative, although I have just taken on a marketing person, and I realized like my strength is in creating. So I'm not allowed to create anymore at the moment until I get all my stuff out, because I could be just like a factory, just creating, but not really doing much with it.
I get that. I understand, because since I've known you, you've always been creating something. You've always kind of you've done one thing, it's come out, and then you've been ready to go on to your next project. And I've got some of your amazing resources, which I use with my clients, and they find it so helpful. I'm just going to talk about the Neurosloth because I just love that. That is just amazing. And it really talks about that spicy profile, and that, you know, the clients that I've worked with, particularly in schools as well, where you're kind of restricted on the amount of, when I say restricted, limited on the amount of sessions that I can have with them, then being able to provide them with a resource like that, where they can just find about who they are by, you know, so it's a game, isn't it? We make it as a game, and then there's little cards, and then there's the bit that I love is where they can work out their own sloth. And that is just fantastic. It really is.
Well, the Neurosloths, that's a separate brand. But the next book builds better bonds with neurodiversity. So the next journal workbook, the Neurosloths, will be appearing in this.
Oh, I love that.
But it's really wonderful to hear how you're using them, and to get feedback, because sometimes I wonder, you know, people buy these. Does anyone use my products? I'm like,
always. And I think what I've noticed as well, or I should say my awareness has increased, the amount of families that there is some neurodivergence, whether it is the parent or whether it is the child or the young person. And you're working differently than when I first started counselling. So the creativity comes in because, like you said, feelings they really struggle with. So I do a lot of like connecting colours to parts of their body and things like that, and those sensations, and it helps them understand. And so what you're doing there, it's just opening this world for so many more families, that, and particular ones that don't feel that they fit in, you know, because if they've got a child who is really struggling with behaviours or high levels of anxiety, you know, or just don't, almost can feel like a shell, it impacts them as well, you know, like you said, you know, don't you, yourself, because of what you've been through. So being able to open this is just amazing. I just absolutely love it.
Oh, thank you. You know, Sam, that's almost brought a tear to my eye, because, you know, after feeling years of feeling misunderstood, and, you know, I think, God, you know, I could have had a bit of a different life if I'd just known.
But did you want to?
Pardon?
Did you want to? You know, we
Well, it could
we
have,
grow as we
people,
learn, don't we?
yeah, I mean, people say like neurodivergence is a superpower. I don't always agree with that,
Okay.
because let's not forget the struggle.
Yeah,
And let's not
absolutely.
acknowledge, people struggle to get where they are. People might see this and, people go to me, oh, I can't believe you're not a millionaire. And I'm like, bloody hell, I never have any money. And that's part of my neurodivergence, because I'm so impulsive and I'm like creating all these new ideas. I haven't got a clue about money. Don't ask me about admin and money,
No.
But what I'm trying to say is, where I've got to now and with these resources, it's part of my healing process as well, I guess, if I'm being totally honest.
Yeah,
That I can help thousands more people by creating
absolutely.
this stuff and make it accessible for parents. I was a single parent.
Yeah.
So, it was always about building a good relationship with my child.
Mm.
And that's where the build better bonds with has come from, because we're nothing really, are we, without those connections. It's our biological imperative to have good connections. And I think so many parents want to be good parents.
Yeah.
But it's hard. Like, you've got work, you've got relationships, you've got finance, mortgage, housing, all these social issues to think of. So yeah, it's going back to what I'm saying, and you'll notice I jump around in my conversations, is that I feel, it's really important to provide these resources to empower parents, but at the same time, it is part of my healing process as well. And also, like, people use the word superpower. For some people it gels, and sometimes I feel, yeah, it is my superpower, but let's also be mindful of the real struggle, and for those that haven't made it,
Yeah.
uh,
Definitely. And we know, don't we? We're very aware of like the real struggle in this country with our support system, the NHS, and I'm not putting it down at all, because it is an amazing support that we have, our health service. But at the moment, they're not able to like reach the support, the demands of all the families that are needed. So we know that there is a lot of people out there that are struggling and that are not able to get what they need to help themselves, their family, their child.
And a lot of my because before, like, Scribbledeedo, Neurosloth, I started with Polyvagal Teen, and that was fine for therapists, right?
Yeah.
And I even had the privilege of like hosting an event with Dr. Stephen Porges and Seth Porges,
I remember.
right? I was like, oh my God, little old me.
I watched it. It was like, oh, I don't believe it. Yasmin's not there.
But oh gosh, what was I going to say?
We were just talking about the NHS, the struggles, that the mental health, support that's not there for a lot of families.
Yeah, so somehow I still can't remember, but
that is all right. And I think that's how I see you, Yasmin, is very genuine. You're very authentic. You kind of like, you don't, even though I know that a lot of people, particularly, those who are going through neurodivergence, whether it's the start of the journey, in the middle, the end, wherever they are, there's a lot of masking going on because of them high levels of anxiety. Whereas I always feel, since I've known you, that you don't hide behind a mask. And I know you said doing this creativity is part of your healing process, but you're on here, we can see you. It's not an audio, and you're being who you are. You're oh gosh, I've forgotten this. And talking about things that you struggle with as well. And I think that's so important for other people to know that actually, even though I might be doing amazing, I'm doing all this creativity, however, I still have these daily struggles.
You should see my inbox. I'm on like 40,000 emails.
I'm not telling you what mine is.
You know, but yeah, going back to Polyvagal Teen, you know, I loved creating those cards and resources.
They're brilliant.
And
they really are.
now I remember why. Right, for me, it's not enough to be just trauma informed or trauma sensitive. It's to look at trauma and beyond. So my resources, my intention is we're never going to get rid of trauma because this is the world we live in, but we can do things to reduce potential trauma to as much as we can. And you know, we know through epigenetics as well and intergenerational trauma, if we can start reducing, even, you know, turning the dial a little, we can start to, that's going to impact, you know, our kids and generations to come, that ripple effect of intergenerational trauma.
Absolutely. And that's such a vital point that, it's kind of like, it's almost like the mirror, it's the reflection, isn't it? It's kind of looking at what you can do for yourself. I mean, as a parent, you've got to put yourself first before you're able to like support your family. But yeah, absolutely a really important point. So I've loved talking to you today, you know, just finding out a little bit more about where you are now. So where can people find you, Yasmin?
Oh, okay. So I'm on Amazon. I will put the links below. I have a challenge starting 1st of July. It's for parents who lose their...
Say it. Just say it. It's fine.
I can say it. I don't know if I can say it. Okay, so for parents who lose their shit, it's 55 days. Basically, as a parent, you buy this workbook and we have a 55-day challenge.
Oh, no.
It's to provide and it's to help parents to have a bit of a calmer summer holidays, because we all know how stressful the summer holidays can be.
Absolutely. Yeah, that sounds amazing, that challenge. Thank you for that. So before we come to the end, have you got 3 tips for maybe parents?
Yeah, so my 3 tips would be, how do you want to make change? What is the most impactful thing you can do to make change? Because a lot of people say, like, you know, especially with emotional regulation, it happens so quickly. You know, change happens through increasing self-awareness. That is my first tip. Everyone should, you know, have a t-shirt. I don't know. I want to do a t-shirt, actually.
I'm getting one.
right after this, I'll be like setting up a store on one of my websites
for t-shirts.
For t-shirts. Right, self-awareness is the #1 key to change, right? The number 2, how do we increase self-awareness? Right, so different things are going to appeal to different people. So through journaling, through speaking to a friend, even, you know, speaking to a counsellor, obviously, being in therapy, group sessions, attending a workshop, an event, so anything that can increase self-awareness. My favorite way of increasing self-awareness is through self-tracking, and it's really boring, and I really had, you know, trouble consistency. It's like, what do you mean 28 days? I was one of these people, you know, start something, be really full of enthusiasm for the first 4 or 5 days, and then forget about it. I've got loads of diaries and planners and stuff. But if you can really get your head around being consistent and just gathering information, self-tracking for 28 days, for longer if you can, that can really help you to gather information about yourself and your triggers, your activators, the things that motivate you, just your processes.
Yeah.
And I guess my third tip is to remember that it's really important that if you're going to create any strategies for yourself or your family, that they need to be unique to you.
Yeah.
Like, you know, there's no point if you are a visual person trying to do a visualization. It's really important to choose things that speak to you and create your personalized toolkit.
Definitely.
Is that enough? Is that
yeah.
true? Yeah.
Yeah. It is. It's 3. They are amazing tips. Thank you so much. And I'm sure that they'll be so helpful to parents as well, definitely, and anybody else who's listening as well. You know, we're talking about parents and families, but actually, even if you're not a parent, those tips will be really helpful.
Totally. If you're a brother, sibling, grandparents, or just a human being who has trouble with emotional regulation, get this workbook journal. You won't regret it. Come on the challenge.
I'll be getting it. I'll be getting one to have a look and things, and then I'll be recommending it to my clients. I'm sure it'll be really helpful. And that is you. That is your success. Your success is being able to support others. That's how I see your success. It isn't about high money. You're already high in your energy and things like that because you've learned so much about yourself. So yeah,
my next challenge is that I think I'll build better. I've got one: build better bonds with finance.
I'm for that one.
But you know, that's a bit later in the series because I've got to tackle it first and sort myself out before I can
Definitely. So we are just about coming to the end, Yasmin. It has been so lovely to be able to chat with you today and find out what you're doing right now and what will be coming in the distant future. I would just say to everybody, watch this space for Yasmin because she is one amazing person, definitely so. So thank you everybody for watching today. As I say, my first podcast episode. Lots of little bits, see if you can spot them. Yeah, and you can catch up with this. It's going to be available on Spotify.
Oh my God. The thing is, Sam, I just want to thank you so much. You've spoken a lot about me, obviously, because I'm the guest, but I just want to say you are amazing yourself. I've just seen you grow so much. And, you know, if I had younger kids, I would feel so privileged to send my children to you. You started outdoor therapy as well now, I noticed.
I launched it this weekend. So, it's available now for families that feel that their young person from 11 plus would be, it would benefit them more than being in an inside space. Yeah, so much. Thank you, Yasmin. I've got goosebumps.
And can I quickly just say as well that I'm launching my first cohort of therapists, people in education, OTs, social work want to become a Scribbledeedo doer. I've got my first cohort launching in July this year. And you get trained to deliver 2 workshops: build better bonds with neurodiversity, build better bonds with emotional regulation. And so we have these Scribbledeedo doers, but let me get the word right, going out into the community, encouraging creativity and movement. So I've got my first cohort starting, and the details will be in the links if anyone wanted more information.
Definitely. Thank you so much. It's been so wonderful. So because you are a Scribbledeedo doer, I'm not sure how to say it, but a Scribbledeedo doer, and it's all around like movement, so not just sitting still. We couldn't finish this episode without you joining in the dance as well. My jingle that's called Let's Bring It to Life, which is exactly what it does. So yeah, so thank you everybody for watching, and I will be back right soon. See you for now. Are you ready, Yasmin?
Thank you for having me, Sam. Bye.
Bye.